Those files were with me. A lot of other correspondence was with me. Out there, I built my autobiography, first volume as a parent, only up to the time when I arrested Sheikh Abdullah, 9th August 1953. Then after that, that was well received. Then I wrote the second volume, bringing me up from 1953 to 1967, when I joined the government. So in other words, the autobiography covers the first 36 years of my life. My childhood, my growing up, how I went to America for my treatment, long story, and then how the whole political situation developed. Sheikh Abdullah is a predominant force to begin with, and how my father had to leave the state, and because Sheikh Abdullah was calling the shots. And at that time, if you remember, we were in the United Nations, and we had made a pledge that we would have a plebiscite. Now, who was going to win the plebiscite for India? The Sheikh Abdullah. He was the greatest Kashmiri leader. Therefore, he had his way. He said to I can't win the plebiscite as long as Maharajah Hari Singh is in the state. So that is a very difficult period for me. But you said you understood it correctly. I just for 2 minutes tell them how difficult it was. He made me regent at the age of 8, head of state. Chancellor of Europe. Yes, sir. So then I went getting invited to the government office. Then there was a political which I don't want to go to details of that, but 1953. Butol. This is a dark formula. Kuto Butol, this is a dark formula. Now that was a major point. Arresting Sheikh Abdullah at the height of his power was something he never dreamed. Who is this Sarvega? Chitabu boy, I made him Sarvega. Whatever, he had to go. But problem with him. So there was no point. We gave him time at our breakfast. And then but there is a strong view of the Congress party. Gandhiji, of course, I also met, I was telling you about him, but he was much older. Jawaharlal was the man who infused us. And the same way as Modi ji today is become sort of dominant in every sphere, that is the same way Pandit did that. So to have his blessings, he did call me to breakfast. And he said exactly what he said. He said, when change comes, accept it. Don't give the impression that you are being pushed into change. Accept it in good grace. Which I did.
Thank you. Another question, sir, regarding the same period. It was very difficult to even deal with Sheikh Abdullah. And yet you managed for a while. Till things got worse, and it became very apparent that a stage came when Kidwai and Maulana Azad also, they reached a conclusion that Sheikh has to go. Did you play any role in that?
He couldn't have gone without me. I appointed him, and I was the only one who had the capacity to dismiss him. If it was not for me, they could not have sent him into jail.
I mean, sir, at that point you were head of the state. Were you reporting this to the center?
I think this whole coup that we organized, Pandit never actually said to me, arrest it. He never said that. The last time I met him, he just put his hand on my shoulder and said, deal with this situation calmly. But it was clear that D.P. Bhatt was the main architect. And K.N. Bamzai and Brigadier, later General B.M. Kaur, the ill-fated B.M. Kaur, they were all into this. We had to do it. He was chief minister, prime minister. How do we do it without his knowing? And Jai Singh from Hoshiarpur luckily was the commandant of the army. So Maulana overall was proud. He didn't take him into the picture. He dealt with this. And he organized this coup. And it was a coup. I'm sorry to say, that's the fact of the matter. If it failed, he would have been in jail. If it failed, I would have been in jail. But I said, no, this is what the nation needs. This is what even the Jawaharlal thinks, who was the closest friend of Sheikh Abdullah, with Maulana Azad came and tried to persuade him. By then Sheikh's attitude had changed. Now, whether he wanted to break away or not is never entirely clear, but he was definitely toying with the idea of an independent state. My father toyed with the idea of an independent state, he came to believe. Sheikh Abdullah toyed with the idea of an independent state, he came to believe. Continue on its own. Those are the facts. So, I was there. I must say, I admit that I was very much part of the conspiracy, if you like. The first time I've ever used that word.
Not my word, sir. There was turmoil in Jammu also. And you found that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he had no sympathy for Jammu.
Praja Parishad.
For Praja Parishad. And by extension I say Jammu also. In fact, there was a small incident when you had invited certain leaders, and one of them was Anand, I'm forgetting his name, Darbari Lal Anand?
Anand.
Yes, Anand, president of the Chamber of Commerce, Jammu. And he refused to meet you. This news got to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and he was furious that this man should never be invited again.
Yes, I remember that.
Then he met, on your insistence, he met the Praja Parishad delegation. He was not prepared to meet the Praja Parishad delegation, but you insisted and he met. How difficult was for you to balance between these two opposite forces?
You see, it was very difficult. The Praja Parishad arose at just that time, and they were wanting the Maharaja Hari Singh back. That was one of their demands. Now it is very awkward for me. What do I do? I can't oppose them. They want my father back. I can't support them because there's no possibility he couldn't come back. So I was constantly in this tension. Pandit Premnath Dogra was the leader at that time of the Praja Parishad. He was one of the finest people I knew. He was a civil servant, very balanced, very mature, samajhdar. The other ones were more, Rishi Kumar Kaushal tha, Sharma Suna, Udhampur de, Lala Rishi Kumar Kaushal Ryasi de. These were the hotheads. But Pandit Premnath Dogra was the one who was at least, I would always talk to it come. But it was difficult, you are right. I had to continue to try and go between the two.
Let me come to your, when anything you have done, I believe. But before that, let me put it one way, this book. This is a representative book of the personality, of the work, the kind of man Dr. Karan Singh is. I'll come to one of the points from this book later if I have time. But in your autobiography on page 171, sir, you have written that you began as a devotee of Lord Krishna. And you had wonderful time there, and I believe that you had a very strange kind of a spiritual experience there while walking through the woods.
Well, let me tell you about this. Dilip Kumar Roy, who was a famous author, wrote a book called Among the Great. And in that there were his meetings, his interviews with 5 great people. Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, Sri Aurobindo, Romain Rolland, and Bertrand Russell. Very, very interesting. In the article on Sri Aurobindo, that's when I first discovered Sri Aurobindo also, there was a mention of an English man called Sri Krishna Prem, who had founded an ashram in Mirtola, just beyond Almora. I was very intrigued by who this was. So then I wrote, got the address with great difficulty from Sri K.M. Munshi, who was governor of UP. He gave me the address. So I started correspondence with them, and then I went to the ashram. This ashram is a Radha Krishna temple in Mirtola. And Krishna Prem, whose books you should read, the Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga of the Kathopanishad, I think he, as far as I can see, he was the most spiritually developed person that I have ever met. I met a lot of other godmen and other people, but he was his intellect and his awareness, and immediately we developed a relationship. And he had an associate, Madhava Ashish, who was also an Englishman. So there were two Englishmen there, and they were my Vaishnava gurus. I've had many gurus, Sri Pandit Paramanandji. None of you would know him. He was accountant general in Delhi. He was my Shastra guru.
You learned Sanskrit also from him?
I started learning Sanskrit with Pandit Paramanandji. And then this was a Vaishnava guru. I'm not a one guru man. I'm a multiple guru man.
Good.
And that's why you right. I didn't have great experience, but it was a very unusual thing.
But from being a Vaishnavite, you gradually started discovering yourself, and you landed with Lord Shiva.
You see, क्या बताऊँ मैं, very difficult. 35 years I was pursuing Krishna. Then a certain event occurred, which I cannot mention that event. And that event in a way changed me. I discovered that Shiva, I didn't reject Krishna. He's over there, he's in my Radha Krishna. वहाँ जी ने जो मूर्तियाँ रखी हैं वो अभी भी मेरी पूजा रूम में है. लेकिन ये है कि I moved to Shiva. Hence the book on Shiva which you may see. So that was an inner change. I built Shiva temple. Nataraja, that really impressed me. I built a Nataraja temple here in Jammu, first one in North India. I built one in Pondicherry, and I built one in America, in Carolina. So I built 3 Nataraja temples. The one is here you should see. That is where I am now.
I was coming to this book. When I read the introduction of this book written by Dr. Karan Singh, the introduction to Lord Shiva, believe me when I say that a person like me, not very well educated in these matters, after reading that introduction, I pass in every society as a very learned human being, a person who knows Lord Shiva very well. You don't need to go to any guru, you don't need to go to any temple, just read the introduction to this book written by Dr. Karan Singh and you will be an expert on Shiva.